This is Cerebral Cinema. Movies of the mind.
Time and the little gray cells, they will always catch the criminal. Agatha Christie's Poirot. From the thrill-packed pages of Agatha Christie's unforgettable stories of corpses, clues, and crime, Mutual now brings you, complete with bowler hat and magnificent mustache, your favorite detective, Hercule Poirot, starring Harold Huber in Rendezvous with Death.
If you'll wait just one moment, sir, we'll have a place for you.
But alas for me, monsieur, your cafe enjoys such a great popularity. I do not see an unoccupied table.
For you, Mr. Poirot, there's always a table. You see, I've had one set up for you right next to the dance floor. This for you right next to the dance. Haven't seen much of you lately.
It is true. I have been busy getting all my affairs in order. I intend to take a cruise on your Great Lakes in 2 weeks' time. In that way, I shall have a vacation and observe something of your great country at the same time.
Well, we'll miss you, but I hope you enjoy it. Here we are.
Merci bien.
You're alone, I take it?
Oui. Sometimes, you see, I prefer to sit on the side and observe the behavior of others. Look out on the dance floor, monsieur. You would expect to read pleasure in every face, eh? And yet, it is not so. Some of those faces are so bored, some vacant-looking, some actually unhappy. But this couple which approaches, they are different, no?
Eh? Oh, Miss Belford and Mr. Doyle. Yes, they're different. They're in love.
Oh, I see. That explains it. The young lady's flushed face, her laughter. Yes, and that's something else in her eyes, eh? She cares too much, that little one. Eh bien, monsieur, if you will bring me the wine list.
For you, Mr. Poirot, I have something very special. You see.
Darling, you dance divinely.
Thank you, Jackie. Oh, pardon me, sir.
Not at all, monsieur.
And you're by far the handsomest man in this room.
Oh, it's just that you have no eyes for anyone else.
Oh, no, Simon, you're too modest. Darling, what are you thinking about?
Oh, well, that opportunity you've wangled for me handling the Ridgway properties. Do you really think Linda Ridgway will give me a trial?
I know she will, dear. Linda's my friend, and I told her all about you. She won't let us down.
I might let her down.
Nonsense. She may be fabulously rich and glamorous, but she's as easy to please as any ordinary person. It's just the right job for you.
As a matter of fact, I think it is. I really haven't any doubt in my ability, and I intend to make good for your sake.
Oh, darling. We'll wait 3 months to make sure you won't be fired. And then...
And then we'll get married. Oh, it'll be so wonderful, Jackie, won't it?
I wonder. You really care as much as I do.
Don't be absurd, Jackie.
I wonder. Oh, well, let's dance.
Here we are, Mr. Poirot. Just 3 bottles left.
You see, monsieur? The old story, eh? One who loves and one who permits himself to be loved. Me, I wonder, too. Pardon, mademoiselle.
What is... Oh.
On a cruise, it is permissible to introduce oneself, n'est-ce pas? And though we have barely left the dock,
Yes, of course, but,
But you would rather be alone, eh? The last time I saw you, Mademoiselle Belfort, you did not look unhappy.
Really, I don't think we've ever...
Forgive me, mademoiselle. First, I present myself. I am Hercule Poirot.
How do you do?
The name means nothing to you?
No, I'm afraid not.
Eh bien. It is my business, Mademoiselle Belfort, to remember names and faces. I sat at the table next to you and your handsome young man at the Café du Fort 2 weeks ago. Richard, the maître d'hôtel, told me who you were.
I see.
Also, I must confess, I could not help overhearing some of your conversations. That is why I was so glad to see you again. You and Monsieur Doyle, you are perhaps here on your honeymoon?
Monsieur Doyle is here. And he's on his honeymoon. But it's not with me.
Ma foi, this is incredible.
Yes. I would have thought so, too. If you heard our conversation, you must have heard us talking about my best friend, Linda Ridgway.
Ah, yes, it was through your efforts. Monsieur Doyle obtained a position in her employ.
That's right. And after she saw him, she decided she wanted him. Not as an employee, but as a husband.
But the young man...
Oh, Simon's weak. Linda's not only beautiful, but very rich. Just the combination was irresistible. It took her just 1 week.
But in that case, what are you doing here?
I don't know, Mr. Poirot. Seems as though I'm just driven to following them everywhere. Maybe seeing me constantly will spoil their happiness. Maybe Simon will realize what a fool he's been. Maybe I'll do something.
Mademoiselle, do not even think such thoughts.
How did you know what I was thinking?
There is desperation in your eyes, ma pauvre petite. But you're too young, and I hope too intelligent to do anything for which you will be sorry later.
Don't worry, Mr. Poirot. If I do anything, somebody else will be a lot sorrier.
Come on, Linda. Let's go forward to the sun deck. You could use a burn, you know. You look so pale.
Oh, it's wonderful here on the ship, Simon. Away from her. For the first time in days, I feel free.
So glad, darling.
Why should she persecute me? Why does she follow me? Follow us, wherever we go. Just staring and staring. I couldn't help it, Simon, could I? I couldn't help loving you, and you're loving me.
Jackie's a queer sort, Linda. She'll get over it.
Simon! Oh, no, not again.
What is it, Linda?
There, by the rail, Jackie.
Good Lord.
Simon, I'll go mad, I know it. She's driving me mad.
Linda, get hold of yourself. She's coming this way.
I'm going back.
No, we've got to face her. We've got to show her we're not afraid.
Yes, dear, I guess you're right.
Hello, Linda. We seem always to be running into each other. How are you? Hello, Simon. You're looking well. Though not as well as last week.
Oh, Jackie, we didn't expect to see you here.
Didn't you? I thought I'd surprise you.
Simon. Oh, Simon, what can we do? You're Mr. Poirot.
At your service, madame.
Perhaps you know who I am.
Yes, Madame Doyle, I have heard your name. I know exactly who you are. Won't you sit down?
Thank you. Mr. Poirot, I've heard a great deal about you, and I know that you're very clever. I need someone to help me. And I think you're the man to do it.
Well, you are very amiable, madame.
It concerns a certain young lady, a Miss Jacqueline Belfort.
Oui, madame, I know that. You see, I witnessed the little scene that occurred on deck this morning.
Mr. Poirot, that girl is persecuting me. It's got to stop.
What do you suggest?
I'm sure I don't know. There must be some kind of legal action one can take.
Me, I do not know of any. So long as she does not use insulting language or threaten you with bodily harm, you cannot prevent her from appearing in the same public places as you frequent.
But this is ridiculous. Do we have to be subjected to this subtle torture wherever we go? It's intolerable.
I sympathize with you, madame. Especially since I imagine you have not often had to put up with things, eh? Of course, you can always leave when she turns up.
But that would be running away as though...
Exactly, madame. As though you were guilty. Eh?
What?
Yes, madame. That is why you cannot tolerate Miss Belfort. You have a feeling of guilt.
How dare you?
You are beautiful, madame. You are rich, you are clever, and you have charm. You could have restrained that charm when you met Monsieur Doyle, but you chose not to. And so you, who had everything, took everything from your friend.
Mr. Poirot, let's not talk about the past. The question is, what can be done now?
I, Madame Doyle, can do nothing.
Jackie has threatened us. She threatened to kill us both.
I see. I did not know that.
Then you will act for me.
No, madame. I have already spoken with Miss Belfort. I'm afraid there is nothing I can do in that direction. But I must tell you this, madame. The situation is full of difficulty and danger for all three of you.
No spade, Mrs. Doyle?
What? Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Miss Robeson. That's stupid of me. I have got a spade.
Yes, I thought you must have. A queen from dummy, please.
Mr. Doyle, waiting for your play.
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry, Pennington.
I wouldn't let her upset my game, darling. Just let her sit over there and stare.
The last 4 tricks are mine. Ace of clubs and 3 trumps.
Ah, that's game and rub.
3 trumps.
Well played, Miss Robeson.
Thank you. Well, I guess I'll turn in. You coming, darling?
Not just yet, Linda. I think I'll have a drink first.
All right, Simon. Good night, Miss Robson.
Good night.
Mr. Pennington.
I'll take a few turns around the deck. Good night, Doyle.
Good night.
Good night, Miss Robson.
Good night. Did I leave my bag here, Mr. Oh, yes, there it is. Miss Robeson, don't go to bed. Please don't. I feel like making a night of it. Stewart,
Oh, yes, miss.
another double scotch. I'd love to stay, Miss Belford. Oh, sit down. We girls must stick together, you know. I think you ought to go to bed. Everyone else has. Except Mr. Doyle over there. Oh, yes, Mr. Doyle. He was her man, and he done her.
Here you are, miss.
Thanks, Stewart. Well, here's to crime. Miss Robeson, Cornelia, tell me about yourself. There's nothing to tell, really. You're a happy sort of person, aren't you? I wish I were like you. Do you? I suppose everyone considers the next person a little happy. I remember... Simon, ring the bell. I want another drink.
The stewards have gone to bed. It's after midnight.
I tell you, I want another drink.
You've had quite enough drinks,
What
Jackie.
business is it of yours?
None.
What's the matter, Simon? You afraid? I really think I should go. Oh, no. Stay, Cornelia. You know what Simon's afraid of? He's afraid I'm going to tell you the story of my life. Oh. Well, you see, he and I were once engaged. Really? Yes. It was a very sad story.
Go to bed, Jackie. You're drunk.
Afraid of a scene, aren't you? Better get out of here quickly. Because I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk a lot. I told you, Simon, I'd kill you rather than see you go to another woman.
Jackie, get hold
You
of
didn't
yourself.
think I meant it, did you? You're so wrong. I've only been waiting. You're my man. Do you hear? I'll shoot you like a dog.
Jackie,
no,
put that
like
down.
a dirty dog you are.
Jackie!
Mr. Pennington, come quickly. She's got him. Simon, your leg is bleeding. Right through your... I didn't mean it, Simon. I didn't really mean it. I should never have took the gun with me.
Doyle. Is it bad?
My leg. I'll be all right. Please, Pennington, for pity's sake, don't say anything about this to anyone, especially to Linda.
Where's the gun?
She kicked it under the sofa.
Oh, Lord, I wish I were dead. I'd kill myself. I'd be better off dead.
Miss Robeson, get her to her cabin. Pennington will help you. Stay with her until the nurse gets there. And Pennington, after you send the nurse for Jackie, bring the doctor here for me. I don't like the way my leg's bleeding.
Mr. Poirot.
Eh? Oh, Andre? Yes, Stewart.
What is it? Beg pardon, sir. The captain would like to see you in his cabin right away.
Ma foi, it must be a matter of great importance. What has happened?
Mr. Doyle, sir. He was shot last night by Miss Belfort.
Sacrebleu, then it has happened.
Yes, sir. And something else has happened. Something worse.
Indeed?
Yes, sir. Sometime last night, Mrs. Doyle was murdered.
All right, Stuart, you can wait outside.
Yes, Captain.
Well, Miss Poirot, there she is. Doctor said death was instantaneous. She was killed between 12 and 1. Bullet entered behind the left ear and lodged in the brain.
Oui, oui. A bullet from a small caliber gun held at very close range.
Yes, but no one heard the shot.
Oh, that is not surprising, monsieur. The explosion would be scarcely noticeable above the sound of the engine. She was probably asleep when the murderer entered. Ah, to destroy such beauty, one must have a very powerful motive, eh? I presume nothing has been touched.
That's right. The room is just as we found it.
Observe, Captain. Here, on the floor.
A compact with the initial J on it.
Precisely. The letter J. I must inform you, Captain, that Madame Doyle had a very dangerous enemy on board this ship. Mademoiselle Jackie Belfort.
Belfort? Do you mean to stand there and tell me, Poirot, that this Belfort woman shot Simon Doyle, then murdered Linda Doyle and left her compact on the floor? Why, that's incredible.
Is it, monsieur? Perhaps no. Mademoiselle Belfort is high-strung and nervous. She is a type who might make such a mistake.
Well, then what are we waiting for? Why don't we go and get her?
Evidence, monsieur, evidence. For example, the gun. Where is it?
Not a trace of it, Mr. Poirot.
And the bullets? The bullet in Doyle's leg and the one in the woman's head.
Doctor says he's almost positive they came from the same gun. You see, after Doyle was taken to the infirmary, he sent Pennington back to get the sofa.
And?
It was gone.
Ah.
What's that you're doing?
I am merely observing these two bottles of nail polish. One is marked red plum, the other rosebud. Madame Doyle wore the red plum last night. Oh, but these rosebuds, sacre nom, the odor is atrocious. It smells not of the rose, but of vinegar.
Yes, that's all very interesting, Mr. Poirot, but we've got a murder here on our hands. Are you making any headway?
Oh, mon Dieu, I see you expect miracles from Hercule Poirot. I do not deal in them, monsieur. All I can do is employ the little gray cells.
Oh, and what do they tell you?
Many things, monsieur. Things which the eyes alone do not tell. For example, your eyes, without a doubt, have observed this jewel case, which is just a fraction of an inch open.
Well?
Well, I ask myself, why should it be open? Therefore, I lift the lid and discover...
Great Scott.
Exactly. That the priceless string of pearls Madame Doyle was wearing last night is gone.
Good morning, Captain.
Morning.
Mr. Poirot.
Good morning, nurse. How is Mademoiselle Belfort?
She's still sleeping.
I see. You gave her something, for the nerve?
Yes, I gave her a morphine injection. She was so unstrung last night, I was afraid she might do something terrible.
It looks as if she has.
What do you mean, Captain?
I mean that after shooting Mr. Doyle in the card room, this pretty little Spitfire up and murdered Mrs. Doyle.
Mrs. Doyle? Murdered?
That's right.
And you think she did it?
No, mademoiselle. We do not think anything as yet. We are merely investigating. But there is an abundance of evidence pointing to Miss Belfort.
But when could she have done it?
You have been with her all the time.
Why, yes, she hasn't stirred from the room since I came on at 12:30 last night.
You are quite sure, mademoiselle?
I'm positive. I gave her the hypo as soon as I came in, and she hasn't stirred out of this room since.
I see. And you, nurse, perhaps you took a turn about the deck.
I beg your pardon, sir. When I'm in charge of a patient, I don't go out strolling.
Forgive me, mademoiselle. I did not mean to offend. Hello, monsieur le capitaine. What do you say now, eh? It begins to seem Mademoiselle Belfort may not be guilty after all.
Why not? She might have done it before the nurse got here. Maybe as soon as Simon Doyle was carried out of the card room, she sneaked back, got the gun from under the sofa, slipped into Linda Doyle's room, and killed her.
Yes, that is possible. There may have been time. Tell me, mademoiselle, when you arrived here, was Miss Belfort alone?
Why, no. Miss Robson was with her. She'd brought her down from the card room in a terrible condition. She couldn't have left her alone.
Confound it, I don't understand this. If that's true, this girl has a perfect alibi. She was in the card room when Linda Doyle left, and she was with Miss Robeson every minute after that until the nurse took over.
Oui, I am beginning to think we must exclude Miss Belfort from our calculations.
You mean... Well, but how about all the evidence against her? The compact, and the fact that her gun was used.
It is possible, Captain, that someone else wished to point suspicion at Miss Belfort. Someone who saw what occurred in the card room, someone who had heard her threats.
Miss Robeson was there, and of course Mr. Pennington came right in, but... Oh, that's ridiculous. What possible motive could either have?
You are forgetting the matter of the pearls.
The pearls, of course, I'd forgotten them. Oh, come on, we'll search Pennington's cabin.
An excellent idea, but first we will have a few words with Mademoiselle Robeson. You see, Captain, I have observed something about that young lady that intrigues me very much.
Okay, if that's how you want it. Oh, nurse, let me know when Miss Belfort wakes up.
Yes, Captain.
What gets me, Mr. Poirot, is what happened to the gun. Where has it disappeared?
Well, that is simple. It was thrown overboard. But the question is, why has it disappeared?
What do you mean?
If the murderer was at such pains to point suspicion at Miss Belfort, why did he not leave Miss Belfort's gun in Madame Doyle's room?
Well, that's it. Oh, hello, Doctor. How's Mr. Doyle?
Well, the bone is badly fractured. I'm afraid of an infection. He's running a little fever.
Oh, that is a pity. Doctor, tell me, how long after the shooting of Simon Doyle did you and Pennington arrive in the card room?
I guess about 5 minutes. He must have been in agony while he waited.
He could not move?
Doyle? Out of the question. With that leg, he couldn't have dragged himself 2 foot.
And certainly not without leaving a trail of blood. You can count him out, Poirot.
Apparently. That unfortunate one, his alibi is written in blood. Miss Robson, will you tell me just once more exactly what occurred last night?
Well, as I said, everyone had left the card room except the 4 of us who were playing bridge and Jacqueline Belfort, who was sitting off in the corner, drinking rather heavily.
Then the game broke up and Madame Doyle left.
That's right. Mr. Pennington went out at the same time to stroll on deck, he said. That left Mr. Doyle, Jackie, and myself. Then there was the scene. Jacqueline shot Mr. Doyle and kicked the gun under the sofa. I called Mr. Pennington in, and together we got Jackie down to a cabin.
Now, mademoiselle, this is very important. Are you sure that you were with Miss Belfort every moment, from the time you left the card room until the nurse arrived?
Yes, I'm positive.
And after that, mademoiselle?
What do you mean?
You did not by any chance go back to the card room and fetch the gun?
What? Do you think
I merely ask the question, mademoiselle. Did you?
Certainly not.
What did you do?
I went to my cabin.
And you stayed there all night?
Why, yes.
You are quite sure, mademoiselle? You did not go to Linda Doyle's room at any time during the night?
No, I went right to sleep. You believe me, don't you?
Miss Robeson, a person has been murdered on this ship, and another one seriously wounded. I can only believe what I see.
What do you mean?
This large container of dusting powder on your vanity table, mademoiselle. I am wondering why so much of it has spilled.
Oh, I guess I was pretty jittery last night. My hand must have shaken.
I see. Then you will not mind if I turn the box over?
What for?
Mademoiselle, do not think me harsh. I have been observing you in the dining room for several days, and I know that you are a sick person. Forgive my saying so, but you are mentally ill.
You know that?
Oui. I have seen you slip into your purse a pair of silver tongues and several other objects. I am sure you are aware, Miss Robson, that you are a kleptomaniac?
Yes, I know. I can't help it, Mr. Poirot. I've tried. Oh, I've tried terribly hard to break the habit. But when I get the impulse to take something, I can't resist it.
Well, it is a condition, mademoiselle, which cannot be fought. It must be cured.
The pearls are in the powder box. I couldn't sleep during the night. I kept thinking about the necklace Linda Doyle had been wearing. About 2 o'clock, I got out of bed and slipped down the corridor and into Mrs. Doyle's room. The pearls were in their case on the dressing table. I took them and came back. But I didn't kill her. I didn't. I had no reason to.
I thank you, mademoiselle. And now, if you please, I will take these pearls.
I'm ready to be turned over to the captain.
No, mademoiselle. No one need know of this. I shall merely announce that the pearls have been found.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Poirot. You're too good.
Au contraire, mademoiselle, you are too unfortunate.
I'm glad Mr. Pennington didn't find out. He'd have made it very difficult for me.
Monsieur Pennington? Well, what has he to do with the necklace?
Didn't you know? Mr. Pennington was the trustee of Mrs. Doyle's estate.
Sapristi. That gives one furiously to think.
Doctor says Doyle's coming along all right now.
I am pleased to hear that, Captain.
Where do we stand, Mr. Poirot? That's what I want to know. We don't seem to be making any headway. I'd like to solve this thing before we dock.
You may calm yourself, Captain. The case is solved.
You mean you know who killed Linda Doyle?
Oui, I know. Here is the infernal.
Hello, Captain.
Hello, Mr. Doyle. Feeling a little better?
Oh, yes, lots, thank you.
Poirot here says he solved the case. Have you?
Oui, monsieur. I know who murdered your wife. No, sit still, Mr. Pennington. This will interest you.
Thank you. I'd like to stay.
Who did it, Mr. Poirot? It couldn't have been Jackie. Mr. Pennington's been telling me the facts.
Monsieur Pennington is right. Miss Belfort did not commit the murder. Understand me, she has the capacity for it, that little one. And there is much evidence pointing to her. But she did not have the opportunity. Therefore, she is eliminated.
I've sent for her. I feel partly responsible for what happened last night. I want her to know I understand.
Oh, that is thoughtful of you, monsieur. Though your consideration comes a bit late, eh?
Poirot, who did it?
Well, let us see. If it was not Miss Belfort, then we must assume it was someone else who knew where the gun was. Who could that be?
Miss Robeson and Mr. Pennington, and, of course, Doyle here.
And what are we looking for, eh? A person who knows where the gun is, who knows that Miss Belfort has threatened Madame Doyle and will therefore be suspected, who has an opportunity and who has a motive.
What motive could Miss Robeson have?
I do not know, Monsieur Pennington, but I know what motive you would have.
I?
Oui, monsieur. You were the trustee of Linda Ridgway's estate. She was still a minor. You had no concerns. But suddenly she marries, and you find that you will have to account.
What about it? My accounts are in perfect order.
I do not think so, monsieur. I took the liberty of looking through your papers. If you had no concerns, why did you draw up all those documents, which would clear you of all responsibility? You hoped Linda Doyle would sign them, n'est-ce pas?
Yes.
Did you not, monsieur?
Yes, I did. But she wouldn't sign them. She was too good a businesswoman.
Aha.
I was a little short. I'd speculated with some of her funds. But I was making it up. I only needed a little more time.
But you didn't get more time, so you killed
No,
her.
I didn't kill her, I swear.
Simon?
Come in, Jackie.
Simon, I must have been insane. I'm a horrible, jealous beast. I don't deserve to live.
It's all right, Jackie. I understand.
You understand? You don't hate me?
No, Jackie. Everything was messed up. We were all responsible. You and I and Linda. We won't ever see each other again, but I want you to know I bear no malice.
Thank you, Simon. That'll help.
I suppose you've heard about Linda.
Yes. Horrible. I feel responsible for that, too.
No, don't feel that way. Mr. Poirot knows you didn't do it. He knows who did.
Do you, Mr. Poirot?
Oui, mademoiselle. It is very simple. From the very beginning, there was one question that perplexed me. Why did the murderer point the finger of suspicion at you, even to the extent of leaving your compact, and then take your gun away with him? It would have been more convincing if he had left it.
Well, what's the answer?
There can be only one answer, Captain. The murderer took the gun away because he needed it.
Needed it? What for?
Why, to shoot someone.
But no one was shot after Mrs. Doyle's murder.
You are wrong, Captain. Someone was shot. Monsieur Simon Doyle.
Oh, no, Mr. Poirot. You've got it wrong. Simon was shot before Mrs. Doyle was killed.
Let us say, Miss Belfort, rather, that Simon was shot at before Mrs. Doyle was killed. But he was not hit. The bullet struck a table as it was intended to. I have but a few minutes ago recovered it.
Well, that's impossible, Mr. Poirot. I saw him a second later. He was writhing on the floor in agony.
One can pretend to rise.
But the blood. His handkerchief was clutched over his leg, and it was saturated with red.
Oui, red ink, monsieur. Red ink mixed with nail polish. And smelling very distinctly of vinegar, as all ink does.
Mr. Poirot.
Oui, mon capitaine?
This is all beyond me. Please explain what happened.
Why, it is very simple, monsieur. Two people decide to commit a murder. They prepare for it a perfect alibi. At a prearranged signal, Miss Belfort picks a fight and pretends to shoot Monsieur Doyle in the leg. He falls to the floor, apparently injured and bleeding. Miss Belfort is taken away, and Monsieur Doyle is free for 5 minutes. He snatches the gun from under the sofa, slips down to his wife's room, murders her, and returns to the card room. Then, and this required great courage, he shoots himself in the leg and hurls the gun overboard through the open porthole. Voila.
And a minute later, when I came back with the doctor, his leg really was fractured.
And he has the perfect alibi. He actually cannot move. Hello, Monsieur Doyle? You are very silent. But your face, it is very expressive.
You're a devil, Poirot. It would have worked with anybody.
Simon! No, we didn't.
It is no use, mademoiselle. You love this young man deeply, but you love wealth even more, eh? Enough to kill for it. And now, you see, you and your lover, too, have a rendezvous with death.
Be sure to listen at the same time next week when Agatha Christie, America's favorite mystery writer, brings you her favorite detective, Hercule Poirot, in The Deadest Man in the World. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Time and the little gray cells. These will always catch the criminal.
Agatha Christie's Poirot. From the thrill-packed pages of Agatha Christie's unforgettable stories of corpses, clues, and crime, Mutual now brings you, complete with bowler hat and magnificent mustache, your favorite detective, Hercule Poirot, starring Harold Huber in The Deadest Man in the World.
Mr. Poirot. Oh, thank heaven you're in. I was afraid that... Please close the door quickly. That's better. Thank you. He may have followed me. If he knows that I came to you...
Mademoiselle, you have the advantage of me. You know my name. I do not know yours. But no matter. You seem to be in trouble. I have found that a cup of tea is...
Oh, no, I mustn't stay. We haven't time.
Mademoiselle...
Shepherd.
Shepherd. Mademoiselle Shepherd, what you have said is intriguing, but confusing. If you want my help...
I'm sorry. I haven't made anything clear, have I? You see, Derek killed my dog.
Mademoiselle, are you asking me to investigate the death of a dog?
Oh, no, you don't understand. I know I'm telling this badly, but...
Perhaps it is my fault, mademoiselle, for being impatient and hastening to conclusions, eh?
You see, I live at Manhattan. You've probably never heard of it.
A small suburb of New York, about 37 minutes by train from the Long Island station.
Oh, you know it then?
No, a small hobby of mine. I read timetables.
Oh. Well, I live there with my Uncle James.
Pardon, mademoiselle. But if my memory does not betray me, James Shepherd is a famous name. Is he not called...
The luckiest man in the world. Yes, that's Uncle James.
I have often asked myself if the newspapers were not wrong to call him lucky. I myself would have them change it to the shrewdest man in the world.
What makes you say that?
A simple deduction. Any man who wins the grand prize in the Dublin sweepstakes 40 years ago takes all his winnings and boldly breaks the bank at Monte Carlo, and then, mademoiselle, and then has never gambled since. Haha, there is a man who makes good use of his little gray cells.
I suppose some people might look at it that way, but others say that Uncle James is tight.
Well, no matter. Was it your uncle who sent you to see me? Is he also concerned about the death of this dog?
Oh, no, Uncle James mustn't know anything about this. He's very ill, his heart. If he found out what was hanging over me, I'm afraid it would kill him.
I see.
Everything was all right until about a year ago. Uncle James was raising his rose, and we were all very happy. And then Derek Redfield took the house next to ours. He was young and attractive.
And you are also young and attractive, and so you fell in love. Eh bien, that is only natural, mademoiselle.
Yes, but what happened next isn't. Derek is... Oh, he's charming, Mr. Poirot, but he was insanely jealous. I noticed it before we became engaged, but he was just difficult then. After we became engaged, well, it was impossible.
And so you broke the engagement and returned his ring.
How did you know?
Mademoiselle, that is obvious. You tell me you are in difficulty. You tell me you were engaged. And yet I see no ring on your hand. Voila, you have given it back.
You're right, but that's what started all this. Derek is going to kill me.
Oh, come now, mademoiselle, you are not serious.
I was never more serious in my life.
Ah, mademoiselle, if we were to suspect every young man who threatened to kill his loved one when the affairs of the heart went badly, poof, half the population would be in jail.
And what about the dog? What about Taffy? He said he'd kill Taffy, and he did.
But, mademoiselle, what makes you so certain your dog was killed?
This. I knew you wouldn't believe me, so I brought it along. This is the meat, or part of it, that poor Taffy found in the garden last night. He ate it and died. It's horrible. Just smell it, Mr. Poirot.
Yes, it is unmistakably poison. I confess this puts a different aspect on the affair.
Then you will come down to Meryton and help me.
No, mademoiselle?
But why not? Surely you believe me. He told me he'd kill Taffy as a warning. He knew I loved Taffy with all my heart, and he poisoned him. I'm frightened, Mr. Poirot. You must protect me.
Mademoiselle, I am not a guard for the body.
Oh, but you must, I tell you, you must.
Could you not go away for a little while?
Oh, it's no use. He'd follow me. Anyway, I can't leave Uncle James. Oh, Mr. Poirot.
Have you spoken to the police about this?
No, they wouldn't help me. I was depending on you. I thought you'd do something. Seems funny that somebody can be killed. Somebody can know she's going to be killed. Nobody will help her. Doesn't that seem funny to you, Mr. Poirot?
Excuse me, mademoiselle. I had to do that. Hysteria is not only unpleasant, but it also accomplishes nothing.
I'm sorry. Would you mind raising the shade? I'd feel better if there were a little more light.
Not at all. Voila. Better?
Much, thank you.
Perhaps a cigarette. I myself find they have a singularly soothing... Pardon. Hello?
Mr. Hercule Poirot?
Speaking?
This is a warning. If you know what's good for you, stay away from Elaine Shepherd.
Who is this? Mademoiselle, Hercule Poirot has changed his mind. You may expect me at Maniton this evening.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Poirot.
No thanks, mademoiselle. I do not like people who kill dogs, and above all, I do not like to be threatened.
Derek?
Elaine, here. This way.
Derek. Oh, Derek, my darling.
Anybody see you?
Not a soul. I left the house the back way. You know no one ever comes here. Oh, Derek, why couldn't you come back with me on the train?
Are you crazy? We mustn't be seen together now. That'd ruin everything. Just when we have it all in our grasp.
All right, darling. You know this. Everything went just as you said it would. I was afraid you wouldn't see him pull up the shade.
I knew he might prove difficult, but I was positive that phone call would get him. The clever Monsieur Poirot.
He'll be here this evening.
Sure, just the way I figured it. The servants will be out tonight, and the luckiest man in the world will soon be the deadest man in the world. And we'll have the money.
What about Anne?
Oh, he probably left her a few thousand, but what's the difference to us? We can afford to be generous. There's millions there.
But Anne's his adopted daughter. He's terribly fond of her.
Yes, I know, but Anne's only 7 years old, and you're his niece, his own flesh and blood. You'll see. He's left practically all of it to you.
Yes. I hope you're right, Derek.
What's the matter?
I know we've been thinking about this for a long time, Derek, but the doctors did say that Uncle James doesn't have long to live. Couldn't we...
No. We've been waiting a year now, and his luck's still holding. We might go on waiting for another 10. You don't want that, do you?
No, but...
We want that money now, Elaine. Now, when we're young enough to enjoy it.
Oh, Derek, are you sure nothing can go wrong?
There isn't a chance in the world for anything to go wrong. Unless you slipped up somewhere today.
I did everything you told me to, only...
Only what?
Oh, I don't know.
Ah, you're just nervous. Poirot's coming down, isn't he?
Yes.
Then that means he's fooled. I've got everything all set. You know what you have to do when you get back to the house, huh?
I know. I've been through it a million times.
That's it, girl. When Monsieur Poirot arrives to stop me from killing you, we'll make him an accessory to another murder.
Here you are, buddy. The shepherd joint.
1,000 thanks.
Okay, but if it's all the same to you, I'd rather have one tip.
And that, too.
Oh, Monsieur Poirot, come in. You don't know how glad I am to see you.
Mademoiselle, it is a great pleasure to receive such a hearty welcome.
There's a deep, dark plot behind my welcome.
I suspected as much.
Yes. You see, tonight is the servants' night out. I didn't want you to run away because you'd have to put up with my cooking.
But, mademoiselle, that will be a pleasure, if I may help.
You?
With people who have had the pleasure of sampling the cooking artistry of such famous chefs as Escoffier, Oscar, and the immortal Monsieur de Gouy, these people, mademoiselle, say there is yet one greater chef.
Who?
Hercule Poirot.
Oh, then I'm doubly glad to have you. Oh, there's Uncle's phonograph. That means he's awake. Wouldn't you like to go upstairs and meet him? That is, if you don't mind climbing 3 flights.
Oh, I should be delighted, but did you not tell me that it would upset him to know that I am in the house?
Oh, don't worry about that. I'm going to tell a little white lie. Now, don't you be surprised at anything I might say.
On that score, be at ease, mademoiselle. I have come to expect extraordinary things from you.
Uncle James, this is Mr. Poirot. Mr. Poirot, my Uncle James.
I've heard of you, Mr. Poirot. Wait until I turn this phonograph off, and then you can ask me some questions.
Questions, monsieur?
Sure. And the only reason I can see for a famous detective like you coming to Manhattan is that you suspect me of murdering someone. All right. Fire away.
No. I assure you, monsieur, my visit has no such purpose.
And then you're here to find out how I broke the bank at Monte Carlo. You'd be surprised how many people want to know.
Well, that of a surety I would love to know. But I am certain that is something beyond my poor powers of discovery, eh?
You're just as smart as they say you are, and I like you. So I'll tell you how I did it. I was just lucky as the devil.
Now, Uncle, Mr. Poirot really came down because he heard about your roses. He's interested in gardening.
Well, of course he is. Any smart man would be. I tell you, Mr. Poirot, the roses are all right. Of course, not as fine as they used to be when I was able to get out and tend to them myself. And now my greatest pleasure is playing records on this phonograph.
And a very fine machine.
Mr. Poirot is also a good cook, or so he says. He's going to help me with the dinner.
And so I am, mademoiselle. Now, what do we have?
Well, there's a duckling.
With a sauce bigarade. I insist on it.
If you know how to make it.
But of course.
And some string beans. But I can take care of those. You just boil water and...
No. It is a sacrilege. You must not destroy the flavor. They must be steamed gently, mademoiselle. And
All right, you win. Come along and show me.
I will indeed, mademoiselle. Directly after I have my bath, I will make a sauce bigarade that would make Escoffier himself jealous. Ah, mademoiselle, I thank you for a magnificent dinner. Superb.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. And the sauce bigarade?
A masterpiece. I have never prepared it better.
I hope you didn't mind my asking Derek over after dinner.
No, I did not mind, but I do not see what you hope to accomplish.
I know it's probably silly, but if Derek sees that you're actually here, he'll realize that I'm serious and leave me alone.
I shall not threaten him, mademoiselle. Threats are useless.
No, there he is. Oh, no, don't bother. I'll let him in.
Elaine, I got your message. I came right over. Does it mean you forget... Who's this?
May I present Mr. Hercule Poirot? This is Derek Redfield.
Poirot? Well, if you did this to impress me, Elaine, you've certainly succeeded. I've heard of you, Mr. Poirot.
And I of you, monsieur.
Yes, I know. I can just imagine what Elaine's been telling you. You must think I'm a pretty bad sort of guy, but, you really got me in a spot, Elaine. How about a little drink to sort of help me out, huh?
Would you like something, Mr. Poirot? A little sherry or port or something stronger?
Port will do excellently, mademoiselle.
Then if you'll just press that button next to your chair, the maid will bring it. I'm too lazy to move.
This one?
Mm-hmm.
I suppose Elaine's told you how I made a complete fool of myself and scared her half to death, Mr. Poirot. But I hope you can realize how it is when a fella's in love.
Mademoiselle, it has just occurred to me. There is no maid to bring the port unless she has already...
Of course, I completely forgot how stupid of me. It's only a little after 9. Servants won't be back until 11. I'll get it.
Hey, what did you ask me over for? To ignore me? I was hoping that maybe we could straighten everything out tonight.
I'll tell you exactly why I called you when I come back.
Ah, the danse macabre, eh? Monsieur Shepard seems to have a rather morbid taste in music.
Look, Mr. Poirot, you can ask me any questions you like, but I've got to convince you that I don't mean any harm to Elaine.
Tell me, monsieur, you did kill her dog?
Well, yes.
Here we are. I hope you'll find the port to your liking, Mr. Poirot.
Elaine, I just admitted that I killed Taffy, but I only did it because I love you. You know, sometimes you want to hurt the person you love.
Derek, I asked Mr. Poirot to come down here to show you that I'm serious. When I tell you I never want to have anything to do with you again. I can never forgive the way you've acted. And if you make any more threats, Mr. Poirot will know how to deal with it.
But, Elaine, if you'll only listen...
I have nothing more to say to you, Derek. Oh, Uncle's turned off the Victrola. What time is it, Mr. Poirot?
It is 9:15, mademoiselle.
I'd better run upstairs and see if Uncle wants anything. Good night, Derek.
But, Elaine...
I said good night.
Mr. Poirot, I'm desperate. Maybe you can understand the way I feel. Would you talk to her and put in a good word for me?
I am afraid, monsieur, that I would find it slightly ridiculous for me to plead the suit of a man who terrifies a lady to such a degree that she seeks my services to protect herself from him.
But I...
Sacre bleu! Mademoiselle! Mademoiselle!
It's Uncle James. He's fallen out of the window. He's dead.
Good morning. What's your name?
Hercule Poirot. And yours, my little one?
Your name is funnier than mine. I'm Anne Shepard.
Ah, then you are the sister of Mademoiselle Elaine.
Oh, no, Elaine's my cousin. Not really, you know, because I'm adopted.
Ah, yes, I see. Your father was...
Do you think Daddy will be away long? He told me this morning that he went away.
As to that, I could not say, but...
How did your mustache get to grow so long? Daddy has a mustache, but not one like that.
Ah, ma petite, very few men have. How long have you been living with your daddy?
Oh, a long, long time. But you haven't told me whether your mustache is real.
I assure you, my little one, it is real. Just like your hair.
Oh, you have to brush your mustache then like I have to with my hair?
Oh, yes, indeed. One has to take care of a mustache, you know.
Could you show me how you brush it now?
I would like to, ma petite, but I have not the time.
What is ma petite?
It is French. It means my little one.
When Daddy comes back, I think I'm going to learn French.
You love your daddy, eh?
I should say so. Are you going to live with us now?
Perhaps for a little while.
How long?
I do not know. It depends, you see, my little one.
Why? Is it because of the noise last night?
Dis donc, do you like fairy tales?
Oh, yes. Sometimes I tell them to myself. Go for a walk in the woods and I make them up.
Ah, but how that is nice, eh? Perhaps you would tell me one sometime, eh?
Oh, no, I'd rather have you tell me one. I like you.
And I like you, my little one.
Can you tell me the story about the Snow Queen?
Ah, alas, that is a fairy tale I do not know. But I will tell you another one. Once upon a time, there was a great, big forest. And in this forest, there lived a very little girl.
Now I've seen everything.
Inspector Stevens, do you know Mademoiselle Anne Shepherd?
Well, hello, little girl.
Hello. He was telling me a fairy tale.
I heard him. But would you do me a favor and leave me alone with Mr. Poirot for a little while?
All right. If he promises to finish the story.
I promise.
Bye. Don't forget your promise.
Well, Poirot, there doesn't seem to be any trouble about this one.
No. The coroner, he has ascertained the cause of death?
No question about that. He died from a fall out of his bedroom window onto those jagged rocks while you and Miss Shepherd and Mr. Redfield were down here in this room.
Are you quite certain, my friend?
You told me neither of them left the room.
Well, Mademoiselle left to bring some wine, but she did not have sufficient time to run up 3 flights of stairs.
And he was wearing a wristwatch, which was pretty well smashed up. The hands had stopped at 9:15. There was a medicine bottle and a spoon on the floor near the window. Now, what I figure is that he must have felt sick, got up, tried to get the medicine, and he fell out of the French windows.
Perhaps.
Yeah. What do you mean, perhaps?
Me, I have an idea it was no accident.
You mean you...
Yes, my friend. Murder.
What? Murder?
A particularly vicious and carefully planned murder.
Do you know who did it?
I think so.
Well, what are we waiting for, Poirot? Let's get going.
Gently, my friend, gently. I think it was murder. I even think I know how it was done. But alas, I could not prove it. The murderers would get clear away in a court of law.
You mean you're going to let them get away with it?
No, that I will most certainly not allow. But we must annoy them, Stevens.
That's the first time I've ever heard of annoying murderers. I generally arrest them.
I do not like murderers, my friend. And when we arrest these, we will make certain they are not set free. Ah, the little gray cells, Stevens. The little gray cells have found a way.
What do you mean?
Murder breeds murder, my friend. And a murderer always repeats. If he poisons once, he poisons again. If he stabs once, he stabs again. If there is an accident once, there is an accident again.
What are you going to do about it?
Me, I shall help to create an accident. I am going to telephone a lawyer.
And now that we are all together, I think that we can proceed with the reading of the will. As the late Mr. Shepherd's attorney, I am the trustee of the estate. I, James B. Shepherd, being of sound mind and body, do him. I believe that we can skip all that. Here. All my property, both real and personal, I leave to my adopted daughter, Anne Mary Shepherd, to be held in trust for her until she attains the age of 21. To my loving niece, Elaine Shepherd, I bequeath the sum of $2,000.
Some water, please. It appears Mademoiselle Shepherd has fainted.
Quiet.
Derek, the will. The will.
What about it? What happened? Will you stop shaking and tell me?
Uncle James left everything. Left it all to Anne.
What?
All of it.
I don't believe it.
It's true. We were all there. McBride read it to us.
But it's impossible. Didn't he even mention you?
Yes. He left me $2,000.
$2,000. That's good. That's very good. What are we going to do with $2,000?
I don't know. Oh, Derek, it's all gone wrong. I knew it when I knew it. I'm sorry we ever started. We never should have done it.
Hey, wait a minute. I think I have an idea. Sure, that's the solution. It's easy.
What?
If you'd only stop and think, you'd see the way it has to be.
Derek, I don't know what you're talking about.
Who inherited the money, Elaine?
Why, Anne... No. No, Derek.
I say yes.
Derek, you mustn't. Listen to me. Remember what you said about planning things? The people who didn't think things out made mistakes.
Never mind that. I know what I'm doing.
No, Derek, we planned something, thought it all out. Look what happened. Even if we do something to Anne, I still won't get the money.
Don't be a fool. You have to get it. You're the only living relative. Now, listen, Elaine. Inspector Stevens has gone back to New York. We're perfectly safe.
I won't help you do anything to Anne.
What makes you so soft about Anne all of a sudden? A bride who doesn't even belong to your family. Where does she come in for anything?
Oh, Derek, I'm frightened. I won't do this with you.
Oh, yes, you will. That's one thing I'm sure of now. We're together, Elaine. Together for life. Don't forget you were with me on one murder. And you're going to be with me on another.
Come in.
Mademoiselle, I have come to say goodbye. My train leaves within 10 minutes.
Oh, yes. This has been so dreadful. I hardly know what to say to you. Such a terrible accident. If you'll send me your bill...
No, mademoiselle. You owe me nothing.
That's very kind of you. Of course, now I'm afraid I shall have to get used to economizing.
Mademoiselle, before I go, is there anything you would like to tell me?
Tell you? Why, no, I can't think of anything.
You are no longer afraid of Monsieur Redfield?
To tell you the truth, I've had so many things to think about. I haven't even given Derek... Well, he hasn't entered my mind.
What are your plans?
What?
Do you intend to stay on here with Mademoiselle Anne?
What? I hadn't considered it. I don't know.
She is a very charming child. I spoke to her this morning and told her the truth about Monsieur Shepherd. She is very sad. I think you should see that she is helped.
Oh, I intend to. I'll do everything in my power.
I am sure you will, mademoiselle. Au revoir.
What much more, Elaine?
Oh, you've got to grow up to be big and strong. Remember, I promised you ice cream.
Don't think I'd like it now. Can't we play Indian?
I didn't know little girls played Indian.
I didn't make it up. Roy taught me. You know Roy, Uncle Derek?
No.
Do so. He's a boy who lives in a big house down the road. See, this is the way we play. I run away and hide.
Anne! Blast that brat.
You'll frighten her. Anne, dear. Come back.
Where did she go?
Here I am. See, I'm very good at it. Sometimes even Roy can't find him. He's a scout.
Anne, I don't want you to do that again.
Yes, you might get hurt. There might be some bad men in the woods.
Oh, pooh.
Come here, Anne.
But you're so near the edge.
I said come here.
No, I don't want to.
Anne, did you hear me?
Yes, but I don't like you. I'm going to run away and hide.
You're not going to run anywhere. There, I've got you.
Oh, Mr. Poirot.
Mr. Poirot. So you didn't take the train?
As you see. I am afraid that woods and flowers do not agree with me. I must have the fever of the hay.
Cut it out.
Pardon?
That means stop trying to fool us. You're a little cleverer than I thought.
A little? Oh, monsieur, for the sake of courtesy, let us say a great deal, eh? Come here, Anne.
Go.
Just how clever are you, Poirot? Hold still, Anne.
Ah, monsieur, really. Such a transparent little plan, eh? You send a charming young lady to my apartment with a very sad tale. She is so distrait. I must protect her from this terrible fiancé. And everything prepared for me, even to the poisoned meat. This meat so strongly dosed and evil-smelling that not even a starving dog would have eaten it, monsieur. So I say to myself, these people must have a reason for wishing Hercule Poirot at Manhattan. What is it? And that evening I find out. You have murdered Monsieur Shepherd.
I told you. Shut up.
Is that all you have to say, Poirot?
And you, mademoiselle, the window shade. Did you really believe that such an old trick would deceive Hercule Poirot? You become hysterical and you need light. Oh, mademoiselle, you asked me to raise the shade, and then the so convenient telephone call.
So what? You can't prove we murdered anyone. We were right there with you when Shepherd died.
Ah, no, monsieur. Monsieur Shepherd did not die at 9:15. You killed him earlier, much earlier, before dinner, in fact, while I was bathing. That is the only possible time. It is easy to set the hands of his watch. Then you came over and played your little comedy with me.
Oh, you're crazy. You heard him playing his Victrola as well as we did.
I heard the Victrola, monsieur.
Then if he was dead, who started it?
That, monsieur, is what makes me to burn. I started it myself when Mademoiselle Elaine asked me to press the button for the servants. After making so much bother about their being out, you simply had the wire set for that button to start the racket automatically in Monsieur Shepard's bedroom. That was supposed to prove he was alive. You removed the wires last night.
All right. You have it all figured out. But you've overlooked one thing.
I think not. It is not Hercule Poirot who makes mistakes.
But you made one this time. This is the last bit of detecting you'll ever do because you're going over the cliff.
No, Derek, no.
Here, hold the kid for me.
Monsieur, you are even more stupid than I thought.
Yeah, this is perfect. Everyone knows the kid like you. You went walking together and fell over the cliff. Those shoes of yours weren't made for the country. Another accident.
I think not. Give me the chance, mademoiselle.
This is it.
All right, Inspector. I believe you've had enough.
There we are, Redfield. You haven't a chance.
Why, you little smart aleck. You'd never have proved a thing if the will hadn't left all that money to that brat. You couldn't have proved it.
Precisely, monsieur. That is why I induced the lawyer to read a false will. The real one left everything to Mademoiselle Elaine.
Be sure to listen again at the same time next week when Agatha Christie, America's favorite mystery writer, brings you her favorite detective, Hercule Poirot, starring Harold Huber in The Book and the Corpse. Agatha Christie's Poirot is directed by Carl Eastman. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Time and the little gray cells. These will always catch the criminal.
Hercule Poirot, Detective Extraordinary. From the thrill-packed pages of Agatha Christie's unforgettable stories of corpses, clues, and crime, Mutual now brings you, complete with bowler hat and magnificent mustache, your favorite detective, Hercule Poirot, starring Harold Huber in The Adventure of the Money-Mad Ghouls.
Good morning, Inspector Stevens. It is just 8:30. Do not tell me you have become a victim of the insomnia.
I'm not in the mood for kidding, Poirot. I've been up all night, but not with insomnia. I've just come from the Pleasant Valley Cemetery.
In that case, permit me to say that you are a singularly healthy-looking ghost.
That may be funny to you, but I frankly admit that I'm worried. There have been 6 grave robberies at Pleasant Valley in the last 2 months.
Then, mon cher Stevens, I advise you to look for a tall, red-headed man who walks with a limp, is left-handed, and wears glasses.
Poirot, you're amazing. How do you know?
Mon ami, your faith in me is touching. You enter my apartment and tell me that some graves have been robbed, and honestly believe that I know the criminal's identity. I assure you I am as much in the dark as you. Until, that is, you provide me with more information.
Oh. Well, here are the facts as I have them. The robbery started about 2 months ago with the opening of the grave of Robert Alden. Now, this was followed a few days later by the grave robbery of James Bennett. In the next 6 weeks, the graves of Richard Colt, Alan Devers, Victor Edwards, and Michael Fallon were opened and desecrated.
Pardon. Exactly what did these ghouls take from the grave?
Everything.
A little moment, Stevens. You are trying to tell me that these ghouls took with them the caskets and the bodies?
That's just what they did. Took everything, and it beats me what in the devil...
Do not fly out of the handle, monsieur. Tell me, were these old graves which were violated?
Funny you should ask me that. All of them were the graves of people who died recently.
And that gives one two things. Eh, my friend? And now you will please get for me the names and the locations of the graves of people who have died recently whose last name starts with a G.
With a G? What are you driving at?
Will you repeat for me the last names of the former occupants of the graves that have already been robbed?
Oh, Alden, Bennett, Colt, Devers, Edwards, Fallon.
Stevens. A, B, C, D, E, F. That is curious, n'est-ce pas? Strange enough so that you and I shall watch at the graves of the lately departed whose last names begin with a G.
I'm beginning to feel more like a grave watcher than a police officer, Poirot.
Do not fear, mon brave. No one would ever suspect you of being anything but a police officer. A flash the light on the tombstone, please. We must make certain this is the grave we seek.
All right. There we are. Yeah, this is it, all right. Herman Gilbert died May 16th, 1945.
Bon, let us conceal ourselves behind this hedge and wait. I think Monsieur Gilbert will have visitors.
I don't know what makes you so sure. There were 4 other people whose last name started with G.
Oui, mon ami, but this is the most recent.
You know, Poirot, I hate to admit this, but I'm mighty glad you're here with me. I don't like cemeteries. They're too gloomy and damp to suit me.
Stephen, hush.
Huh? You were right, Poirot. Someone coming.
Yes, and with the proper tools for their grisly work.
Somebody's here. Hey, stop! Come back! Stop or I'll fire!
Now, Poirot, if you won't tell me what your angle on this case is, at least you might tell me where you're going.
Mon ami, if you promise not to sneeze, I will tell you.
You can't blame me for sneezing. I couldn't help it.
It is not the sneeze that annoys me. It is the effect it had upon the case. Now these robbers are warned that we are on the scent. They will be more cautious.
Well, where are we going?
We are here, at the place Robert Alden lived, the first person whose grave was opened. Is it not significant to you also, Stevens, that there have been no graves of women disturbed?
That's so. I never thought of that.
You did not. I was so sure you had.
Well, what is it? Speak up. Don't keep me standing here in the draught.
Pardon, monsieur. But did a Robert Alden live here?
Robert Alden? Yes, he certainly did, but you can't see him. He's dead.
That we already know, monsieur. We would like some information.
Why? What are you bothering about Robert Alden for?
This is Inspector Stevens of the New York Police, and we wish some information.
Robert Alden was a fine man, as fine a man as ever lived. He used to try to cheat me at checkers once in a while, but I was too smart for him.
Were you related?
No, but he was my best friend and lived with me in this house for over 20 years.
Then perhaps we could see his wife.
That's a good one. Robert never married at all. He was a bachelor until the day he died.
I see. Were you at the funeral, monsieur?
Of course I was. Don't you think I have any decent feelings? I even remember the date. It was June 13th.
Yeah?
June 13th, 1920.
I'm all in, Poirot. And I don't understand this. Alden's been dead for 25 years. Nobody ever heard of Devers, Edwards, and Fallon. I can't make any sense out of this.
Patience, mon ami. We do know that there was a Richard Coates and that he has a widow.
Yeah?
Here's the house now. I beg of you to allow me to ask the questions, eh? The poor lady will doubtless be upset by her recent bereavement.
Okay, Poirot, I'll let you handle everything. Yeah, she seems upset, all right.
Madame Coates?
Well, yes, I'm Mrs. Colt. What is it you wish?
Are you Madame Richard Coates?
Oh, I suppose it's my husband you want to see. I'll call him. Dick? Oh, Dick, darling.
What the devil? Am I crazy or...
Yes, madame. We should very much like to see your husband.
Coming, Lydia. Well, darling, what's this all about? Who are these people, friends of yours?
I'd like to know what this is all about, all right.
Please, mon cher Stevens. Monsieur, I am Hercule Poirot, and this is Inspector Stevens of the police. He is disturbed because he finds you a singularly healthy ghost.
Ghost? I don't know what you're talking about.
You have had no other husbands, madame?
What are you saying? If this is some kind of game, I don't like it.
Be quiet, Dick. There's evidently been some mistake. No, Mr. Poirot, Dick is my only husband.
Well, he ought to be dead.
I'll cut you right on nose.
Gently. And now, Madame Colt, if you would be so good as to close the door, we will attempt to perceive the reason behind your husband's so sudden return to life.
Now, let's get to the bottom of this.
That is exactly what we wish. You, Monsieur Colt, are supposed to have died on the 3rd of August of this year.
I never felt better in my life.
Who on earth could have played such a horrible joke on us?
Madame, I assure you, this is no joke.
But there must be other Richard Colts in New York. Are you sure you have the right one?
Yeah, we got the right Richard Colt. The manager of Pleasant Valley Cemetery gave us your address. I think you two better come along with me.
That will not be necessary, mon ami. We have a more logical task to perform. We go to call on the manager of the Pleasant Valley Cemetery.
Oh, Inspector Stevens. Have you made an arrest as yet?
No, I'm sorry to say we haven't.
This is dreadful. Simply dreadful. I don't know what the world's coming to, and even a cemetery is no longer a peaceful place.
Yeah, I know how you feel, Mr. Kenton. Oh, this is Hercule Poirot, Mr. Kenton, the manager here.
Well, Inspector, you are making progress after all if you've obtained the assistance of the famous Mr. Poirot.
Thank you, Monsieur Kenton. And now, as one man of intelligence to another, perhaps you would like to answer a few questions for me.
Certainly. What is it you'd like to know?
What is the procedure for the interment of a body in this cemetery? By that I mean, do you personally see the bodies when they arrive here for burial?
No, Mr. Poirot. That is hardly necessary. All that is required is the issuance of a death certificate.
Then you did not actually yourself see the body of Monsieur Richard Colt?
Why, no. I should have thought it most unusual if I had. The undertaker simply gives me the necessary papers, and I make out the assignment of the grave.
And the name of the undertaker, if you please?
Well, let me see. I'm sure I have it here in the files. Yes, it's Love. Kermit J. Love.
And the address?
6611 Ithaca Street.
And now, if you would be so kind, could I perhaps have the names of the undertakers for the other 5 bodies disturbed by the ghouls?
Well, that will be difficult. But perhaps I can mail that information to you tomorrow.
I regret to disturb you, but I should like it now.
Very well. Here's a strange coincidence.
What's that?
If I may be permitted to guess, monsieur, it is that Monsieur Kermit J. Love is also the undertaker for the others.
Yes, that is correct, Mr. Poirot.
And now, Stevens, we go to walk into the parlor of Monsieur Love. One could be at peace in so gentle an atmosphere, mon ami. Did you not hear those beautiful chimes? That is enough pushing on the bell, Stevens. Someone is coming to the door.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Won't you come in?
Thank you, Monsieur Love. Come, Stevens.
May I offer my profound sympathy for your great loss. You may rest assured that Kermit J. Love will do all in his power to assist you in this moment of need.
We'd like to ask you a few questions.
Of course. We handle all the necessary details.
You've got the wrong idea. We want
I understand. Perhaps you would like your little friend here to speak for you.
That is an excellent idea, Monsieur Love. Wait outside for me, Stevens. I will take care of all details.
Oh, well, all right, but I don't see why I...
Your friend is quite upset. Was it his wife?
No, he is not married.
I see. Then his mother, perhaps. Or some other close member of the family.
No. It is not that at all, monsieur.
But I don't quite understand.
Then perhaps this will assist you. Were you not the undertaker for Alden, Bennett, Colt, Devil, Edwards, and Fallon?
I'm afraid that is a rather unethical question.
Unethical question? Oh, now it is I who do not understand, monsieur.
Sir, you certainly don't understand. I take my profession seriously. If I may say so, I am doctor, lawyer, and minister to the dead. It is I who escort them into the next world, so to speak.
And I also, monsieur, take my profession seriously.
Which is of no interest to me. You are exceedingly rude and inquisitive. I will not have the secrets of the dead laid bare. They must rest. Rest in peace.
But that is just what they have not been allowed to do, monsieur.
That is regrettable, but I don't see how it concerns me.
This is a most magnificent establishment you have here.
Thank you. Good day.
Tell me, what are those cabinets in the wall?
Don't touch them. They are resting places for those awaiting burial.
And they are occupied now?
Most certainly.
Ah. I see the cards say that 2 of them are occupied by Monsieur P. Fox and Monsieur S. Martin.
I don't like your attitude. As I told you before, it's rude and unethical.
Rude? To inquire about your business with Messieurs Alden, Bennett, Colt, Devers, and Fallon? I am interested in whether you were the undertaker for those gentlemen, Monsieur Love.
You came in here with your friend and led me to believe you were seeking my professional services.
One moment, monsieur. I'm afraid you leaped too quickly to that conclusion. My friend and I said nothing.
I am not permitted to release the information you've asked for.
And perhaps you will be good enough to oblige me when you learn the identity of my friend who waits outside.
If you will excuse me, I have some duties to perform.
He is Inspector Stevens of the New York Police. I can ask him to make this request for me.
Oh, the police? Well, that's an entirely different matter. Yes, I was the undertaker for the late gentleman you mentioned.
And you saw the bodies?
Naturally.
You are quite certain of this, monsieur?
Kermit J. Love Incorporated is a reputable firm. We have been in business for the last 27 years. If I tell you I saw the bodies, there are no further questions necessary. Now, is there anything else you'd like to know?
No, monsieur, that will be all for the moment.
Well, Poirot, looks like this time I was right. Kenton has no business down in this part of town.
Patience, mon ami. We have not yet seen what Monsieur Kenton does here.
We've seen enough for me. He ducked out of his house, and ever since we've been following him, he's been acting suspicious. Besides, there's nothing down here except factories and warehouses, and they're closed at night.
We will see. Aha, monsieur. It appears you may be right. Do you notice that car just turning the corner?
Hearst! Poirot, I believe we got him. Kenton's in on this.
Gently, gently. Let us stand in this doorway and observe what is going on, eh?
Hey, they're going to break into that cold storage plant. Come on, Poirot. Throw up your hands. Get Kenton, Poirot. He just turned the corner. Come back. Stop. Halt. God darn it. Poirot. Poirot, where are you?
Coming, my friend. Coming with Monsieur Kenton.
At least we got somebody. All right, Kenton, speak up. We know everything.
Speak for yourself, monsieur. There are still a few things that puzzle me.
It's as plain as Pikestaff. Come along, Kenton.
Take your hands off of me. I warn you, Inspector, I'll sue you for false arrest. What's the meaning of always shouting and shooting?
Monsieur Kenton, perhaps you will be kind enough to explain what you were doing in this neighborhood at this time of night?
Certainly. I was going to get some pipe tobacco.
If you can't think of a better one than that, Kenton, come along.
Let us permit Monsieur Kenton to finish.
You'd better. You'll be making a bad mistake. It just so happens that I smoke a special kind of tobacco. It's mixed for me by a friend of mine.
His name?
His name happens to be Rosemary Leeds. She's a very charming girl engaged to my son. She's a chemist. She happens to have her office down here, and once in a while she mixes a particularly mild mixture for me, and I come down, pick it up, and take her home.
Yeah, that's a good one, all right. I suppose you didn't see that hearse.
I didn't see anything, but I heard a lot. Then Mr. Poirot asked me to come with him.
Poirot, I've got this all figured now. Somehow they're taking the bodies out of the cemetery to the cold storage plant and leaving them there.
What for, mon brave?
Well, I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out.
Do that, mon cher Stevens, and while you risk pneumonia, I will check upon Monsieur Kenton. Come, monsieur. We will see whether this Mademoiselle Leeds is waiting for you with your tobacco. Hello?
Poirot, take some advice. Lay off that investigation.
Pardon. Are you referring to the case of the counterfeit dentist?
You know darn well what I'm talking about. If you don't stop investigating those empty graves, you'll find yourself filling one of them.
I think not, monsieur.
What makes you so sure?
But it is obvious. You have not yet come to the letter P.
Wise guy?
Good day, Stephen.
Yeah, what's good about it? We're not getting anywhere at all. I still don't trust that Kenton. I know his alibi stood up, but that dame's engaged to his son. Maybe they're all in it together. Well, have you got anything new?
I have just been informed that we have made considerable headway.
Yeah? Who told you?
I do not know.
Well, that's fine. We're making headway, but you don't know how.
I do know how. It is that I do not know who. I have just received a telephone threat against the life of Hercule Poirot.
All right, but I don't see how that helps. You get those all the time.
Observe, mon ami. Only one of 4 people could have inspired that telephone call. Either Monsieur or Madame Colt, Monsieur Kenton, the manager of Pleasant Valley Cemetery, or Monsieur Kermit J. Love, this so sympathetic undertaker.
Well, yeah, I suppose you're right.
But of course.
What are you doing?
Calling Monsieur Kenton.
Pleasant Valley Cemetery.
Monsieur Kenton, this is Hercule Poirot. Tell me, if you please, have you any funerals scheduled from the establishment of Kermit J. Love for today?
Why, yes, I have 3.
And their last names?
Wing, Levitt, and Harkness.
Ah, indeed. And what time is the Harkness funeral?
Well, that's strange. Kermit Love just phoned me about moving the time up to 10 o'clock this morning.
1,000 thanks, Monsieur Kenton. Quickly, Stevens, a police car and an escort. We must be at Pleasant Valley Cemetery in 15 minutes.
What for?
To attend a funeral.
We're almost there, Poirot. There's the entrance.
Mr. Poirot, what's wrong? What happened?
Quickly, the Harkness grave. Where is it to be?
In the east plot, directly up this path.
This way, Stevens. Bring your men. We must hurry.
But what's wrong, Mr. Poirot? Why the police?
If we are not too late, you will have your answer. Stevens, look. There on the hill. They're getting into their car.
Yeah.
Stop! Stop! Save your breath and your ammunition. They're out of range.
We're always too late in this case.
I would not say that, my friend. Regard. We put them to such haste, they neglected to bury Monsieur Harkness.
Great Scott. The coffin's empty. They took Harkness's body with them.
Come, Stevens. Your face shows the worries of the world. Do not be so depressed.
Well, I'm not exactly happy, Poirot. Never taken you so long to figure out a case. You always had something that helped us when I came to your apartment before.
Patience, mon ami. The harvesting of the clues grows near, eh?
I can't wait for any harvest. I'm going to take all the people involved in this case and throw them into jail.
Mon ami. Now you are not using your little gray cell.
Well, you work on the gray cells. I'm going to fill my cells down at police headquarters.
And that will be a benefit to no one. We must proceed with calm.
How can I be calm? We're up against a dead end. If we'd only gotten to that cemetery 5 minutes earlier. This whole thing's driving me crazy.
I admit the case holds a few peculiar aspects.
Peculiar? Is that all you can call it? Now, look, Poirot, we go to a funeral, but before we get there, the mourners decide to take a powder. Then they take the body with them. What's going on? Am I losing my mind?
I can only reflect on the case itself, Stevens, not on your personality.
Why are you so quiet? You got something up your sleeve?
It is always possible that something may pop out.
Well, it had better soon. I can't stand much more of this. The funeral this morning was too much for me. I still can't understand what they wanted with that body.
Sacre bleu, it is I, Stevens. I, Hercule Poirot, who have been blind.
What do you mean, Poirot? What's the matter?
Stevens, it has been in front of my eyes all this time. The most important clue. And I have kicked it away like an unwanted bill.
Okay, let's have it.
Listen carefully, Stevens. This morning at the cemetery, when we frightened the men away. You remember?
Yeah, of course. Go on.
Now think carefully. You did not see any of those men carry a body with them.
Wait a minute. No, they weren't. You're right.
Exactly. And the reason they were not carrying a body was because there was no body to carry.
What?
But the question remains, what was in that coffin that they were so anxious to take with them?
Well, I don't know. Do you?
I have a small idea.
What else can you put in the casket except a body?
A great many things, mon ami. But the point to follow here is about the bodies which were removed from the 6 open graves.
Yeah, what about them?
Think back to our interview with Monsieur and Madame Colt, eh? He was very much alive. And we could not find even a trace of those other dead gentlemen, except...
Except Robert Alden, who'd been dead for 25 years.
Exactly. Now, do you not see?
No, I don't.
The answer to my question is so simple, mon Dieu. There never were bodies in the graves that were opened.
Oh, I get it. Why, that's wonderful, Poirot. I still don't get the idea behind these phony burials and what sort of racket they've been running.
Well, that is a 2-part question, mon ami. The first part I know. The second part, in due time.
You mean you know who's in back of all this?
There is only one possibility, Stephen. Since there were no bodies in the 6 graves that were opened, we can now proceed to apprehend the one man who claims to have seen all the 6 bodies.
Kermit J. Love, the undertaker. Yeah, but I think Kenton was in on it with him. He needed an accomplice.
Possibly. But it is Monsieur Love who interests me. And with such a man, we will have to move most carefully, eh? Have you ever tried to arrest a ghost? Stevens?
Maybe not, Poirot. But Love won't find me so easy to use in his disappearing bodies act. And this time, Kenton won't have an alibi.
Come, mon père.
Where are we going?
To a perfume store, and then to the funeral parlor of Monsieur Love.
Perfume store. This is no time to be buying gifts.
It is not a gift. I require some perfume.
Okay. This time I know which one of us is going crazy.
Why do I have to make so much noise? Oh, well, I will not awake those who sleep in this building. What have we here? They are beautiful. They are worth a great fortune.
I admire your taste, Monsieur Poirot.
Ah, Monsieur Love. It is I who must compliment you. These stolen furs are among the finest I have ever seen.
We took great care in selecting them.
And these sables, magnifique. But did you not have difficulty in disposing of them?
Ordinarily, we would have.
But you initiated a new system, n'est-ce pas?
A system of cold storage, I would say.
Precisely. You put the furs in a coffin, selected a name at random, then buried only the name. The coffin contained the furs.
Who would think of looking for furs in a cemetery?
No one, monsieur. However, do you not think it was a bit obvious to proceed alphabetically so that you would know in what order to dig up the coffin?
We found it very satisfactory. What made you suspect us?
An even more obvious mistake, monsieur. Come, monsieur. Marking the cabinets that were supposed to contain bodies, but which actually held the stolen furs. S. Martin, P. Fox. If you intended that as a joke, it was a poor one.
I'm afraid it was just expedient, Mr. Poirot. I have no sense of humor.
Well, monsieur, I'm glad to see that you are so reasonable. Inspector Stevens is waiting outside.
Denny.
Yes, Mr. Love.
Ah, the driver of the hearse, Monsieur Denny. It is only natural he would be in this little game.
His name, Mr. Poirot, in your case, should be Charon.
An apt allusion, Monsieur Love. Charon ferried the bodies of the living across the river Styx, and they died.
Which is exactly what is going to happen to you.
But, monsieur, did I not tell you that Inspector Stevens is waiting outside?
But the way you're going out of here, Mr. Poirot, not even Inspector Stevens will know that it's you. You're going to be carried in a coffin. Watch his hand, Denny. It's in his pocket. Hurry, Denny. Get him in this coffin before that blasted Stevens gets suspicious.
He's heavy for such a little guy.
That's it. Don't bother screwing the top down. We'll do that later.
It sure smells sweet. Like a flower, almost.
Never mind that. Let's get going.
Yeah, I'll take the back end.
Don't hurry now.
Hold it a second, buddy.
Officer, please. We are dealing with the dead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I see you're still working, Mr. Love.
Yes, Inspector. Unfortunately, our sad work never ends.
Something smells pretty funny to me around here, Riley. What would you say it was?
I don't know, sir, but it sure smells to high heaven.
That's it, with perfume. Let's have a look in that.
Grab him, Riley. Don't. Will you kindly assist me, Monsieur Stevens?
Ah, glad you're all right, Poirot.
All right. Mon ami, I did not mind the blow on the head. But did you have to be so stupid as to allow them to drop this coffin?
Hey, wait a minute, Poirot. Don't get sore. Where are you going?
I am not angry, my friend. I merely go home to take a bath.
Be sure to listen next week when Agatha Christie, America's favorite mystery writer, brings you her favorite sleuth, Hercule Poirot, starring Harold Huber in The Parallel Murder Case. Music for Poirot is composed and conducted by Sylvan Levin. The program is directed by Carl Eastman. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Time and the little gray cells. These will always catch the criminal.
Hercule Poirot, Detective Extraordinary. From the thrill-packed pages of Agatha Christie's unforgettable stories of corpses, clues, and crime, Mutual now brings you, complete with bowler hat and magnificent mustache, your favorite detective, Hercule Poirot, starring Harold Huber in The Trail Led to Death.
Mr. Poirot, my name is Gorman, Tom Gorman. May I come in?
Most certainly, Monsieur Gorman.
I'm in a funny spot, Mr. Poirot. I hate clients who start that way myself. But
You are a detective, monsieur.
Yeah, I'm what you might call a competitor of yours. Gorman Detective Agency. No job too small or too large. You've heard of me?
I regret to say, monsieur, I have not.
Well, then how did you know I was a detective?
Oh, come, monsieur. The significant bulge under your shoulder. A shoulder holster for your gun, n'est-ce pas? And still, nothing furtive about your movements which would mark the criminal. Merely a certain slyness in your manner.
Hey, you don't seem to think much of detectives.
Being one myself, I am allowed to take liberties, eh?
Well, it doesn't matter. I've heard of you, and that's why I'm here, to get a little help.
Monsieur Gorman, I think you have made a mistake. My services are not for hire.
No, don't get on your high horse. I know how you've been helping Stevens down at Homicide, and I have a proposition here that will interest you.
Monsieur, I have found in my experience that propositions such as you speak of do not interest me.
Now, wait a minute. I know that compared to you, I'm just a punk. I haven't got your brains and don't figure for a minute that I have. I'm used to dealing with mugs, and it's mugs I know how to handle. But, well, this thing is different. And all I ask is for you to listen to what I have to say. Then you can give me the brush off if you don't like it.
That seems reasonable, monsieur.
I've been hired to find a girl. Here's a picture. All I've got to go on is this picture, her name, Elizabeth Dorn, and the fact that she's a nurse.
This picture seems to be quite a few years old, monsieur.
You can say that again. That's just one of the things that makes it so tough. The people who want this gal located haven't seen her in 15 years, but they're sure anxious to find her now. $10,000 worth anxious. And that's why I came to you.
Pardon. I do not understand.
Look, this is big-time stuff. Ordinarily, I'd never get a look in on a case like this. But for some reason, I can't figure out these people came to me. I know when I'm licked, I tried every angle I could to find this dame. I figured that if she was 30 when this picture was taken, she'd be about 45 now. But I'm licked, and I admit it. But I don't want to give up that $10,000.
And you want me to find this Mademoiselle Dorn, eh?
I figured you might help me. I'd split the fee with you.
I am sorry, monsieur, but it is out of the question.
What? You mean you won't?
Exactly. But, Monsieur Gorman, I wish you luck, and here is one bit of advice.
What?
You might ask yourself why these people who have not seen Mademoiselle for 15 years are suddenly so anxious to locate her.
Who cares? $10,000 is $10,000.
And sometimes, monsieur, $10,000 has upon it the smell of the grave.
Hello?
Hello. Dilly?
Oh, Elizabeth. How are you, dear?
Worried, Dilly, worried, sick.
Well, they haven't found you, have they?
No, thank heaven, but I feel this is the year.
Well, you've stayed away from them for over 10 years now. What makes you think they'll find you?
Oh, I'm not worried about myself, Dilly. It's Jimmy. If they ever get their hands on him,
Now, stop worrying. It won't do you, nor the boy, nor your work any good.
Oh, Dilly, you're a wonderful person and a real comfort to me. I don't know what I'd have done without you.
You'd have done very well. You always had courage and brains.
But I'm beginning to get that feeling again, Dilly, about things closing in on me.
Where's Jimmy?
I sent him away to the country.
Usual place?
Yes. And, Dilly, if anything happens to me...
Elizabeth, now
listen
stop
to me, Dilly.
imagining things.
Listen to me. If anything happens to me, I want you to take care of Jimmy.
You know I will.
He'll be 21 in another month. And if anything should happen, I want you to tell him the whole story.
I'll do better than that. I'll tell the police so that we can catch the thieving scoundrels.
All right, Dilly.
You're sure you don't want to tell the police now?
I can't, because then I'd have to tell Jimmy, too.
Well, all right, Elizabeth. You can count on me, dear.
Oh, heaven bless you, Dilly. Goodbye.
Oh, darn. Now I'll have to wait 20 minutes for the next bus.
Good evening.
I said good evening. Look, I'm not trying to pick you up. I just want to know your name. Come here, you fool. I just want to ask you a few questions.
Let go of me. Let go of me. I'll scream. Help! Help!
Now listen. Is your name Dawn? Is it? If I let you go, will you answer? Just shake your head, yes or no.
No, my name isn't Dawn. And I'm going to call the police. Help! Police! Help!
If you hadn't yelled, you poor fool, you might still be alive.
Good morning, Monsieur Stevens. Well, you are indeed a faithful public servant. Whenever I come to your office, I find you working diligently at your desk, eh?
Well, being the head of the homicide department in this town is no joke, Poirot. But today I can relax. Things have been pretty quiet around here lately.
Around here, perhaps. But what about the borough of Queens? Was it not there that a nurse by the name of Molly Ward was killed last night?
Yeah. Too bad, but that's just a routine job. Looks like a mugging to me. I've got Collins on it.
Do you have a picture of this Mademoiselle Ward?
Sure. Here's the police picture taken out there.
Her face is badly battered.
Well, that's what you'd expect when she's been belted over the head with a blackjack.
Yes, mon ami. But why should a poor, unimportant nurse by the name of Mademoiselle Molly Ward be selected for being hit over the head and in such a lonely section of the city?
She wasn't selected, Poirot. Some guy was waiting around and tried to mug her and take her purse. She put up a fight and buffo.
Perhaps. Dis donc, what do you know of a private detective named Tom Gorman?
Gorman Detective Agency. No job too large or too small. Tom's a small-time operator. He'll chisel a little, but nothing serious. Hey, wait a minute, Poirot. You know something I don't. How is this Gorman hooked up with a nurse mugging?
I don't know that he is, mon vieux, but he came to me yesterday with a...
Police headquarters, Stephen speaking. What? Where? I'll be right over. Come on, Poirot. Another nurse has just been knocked off. Right in General Hospital. Miss Wood, I understand you're the head nurse here.
Why, yes, I am.
I'm Inspector Stevens of the New York Police, and this is Hercule Poirot.
Oh, yes, I've heard of Mr. Poirot. If anyone can solve this brutal killing, I'm certain he can.
You are most kind, mademoiselle, but it is the good Stevens who is the authority on mugging.
Now, wait a minute, Poirot. I didn't say this was a case of mugging, nor that it has anything to do with that murder of the nurse out in Queens.
But you will admit, mon ami, that the coincidence of two dead nurses gives one furiously to think, n'est-ce pas?
Well, I don't know about this other nurse you're discussing, but I'm willing to swear that Miss Dilly's death was no case of mugging.
What makes you say that?
Because of the man who came here to see her.
What man? What did he look like?
Well, it's difficult to describe what the man looked like. All I remember is he was of medium height and wore a blue pinstripe suit.
Is it a custom at this hospital to permit nurses to have visitors?
As a matter of fact, Mr. Poirot, it's not. This man was so insistent that I allowed Miss Dilly to come down to the reception room.
What happened then?
I don't know, Inspector. When she came into the room, I left.
But is it possible, mademoiselle, that you overheard perhaps a bit of their conversation before you closed the door?
I do remember hearing him ask her if she knew a woman by the name of Elizabeth Dawn. But then I closed the door and couldn't hear any more.
Tiens, that is most interesting. Did you know this, Mademoiselle Dawn?
No, I'd heard of her. She worked here several years before I came. I've been told that in addition to being an excellent nurse, she was quite a beautiful woman.
Did the unfortunate Miss Dilly know Elizabeth Dawn?
Why, I really couldn't say.
Come on, Poirot. We've got to lay our hands on that guy in a blue pinstripe suit. Let's get out of here.
A little moment, please, Stevens. Perhaps Mademoiselle Wood can inform us if she heard any sounds or screams in the reception room when she left Mademoiselle Dilly alone with the visitor.
No, I couldn't. I'd gone upstairs to my office to check into hospital matters. I first noticed that Miss Dilly hadn't returned to her ward when I checked it about an hour later.
Poirot, there's something behind all this.
How perceptive of you, mon ami. There is indeed. But as yet, it is only a, formless shadow. Perhaps a visit to the Gorman Detective Agency will help us to fill in an outline.
Hey, open up in there. This is the police.
Okay. Keep your shirt on. I'm coming.
Take your shoulder away from the door, Stevens. He will open it voluntarily.
Oh, it's you, Inspector.
All right, Gorman, let us in. We want to talk to you.
Make yourselves at home. How are you, Poirot?
I am well, and most happy to see that you are wearing a gray suit. Blue pinstripe is not a healthy pattern just now.
What's on your mind, Inspector?
Murder, Gorman.
Look, I'm a detective, but I don't go out and make my own crimes. If you're talking about that nurse, you're wasting your time. I know nothing about it.
Who are you trying to kid, Gorman? 2 nurses have been killed.
What?
Both by the same method, and you stand there and try to tell me, as far as you're concerned, it's all brand new.
2 of them.
Inspector Stevens has the proper score, Monsieur Gorman. We have just come from the hospital. A nurse by the name of Mademoiselle Dilly was killed there by a man who inquired for Elizabeth Dawn.
Hey, Poirot, look at this.
Hey, give me that.
Oh, not so fast, Gorman. Yeah. What do you make of it, Poirot?
Perhaps my colleague can explain to us why the name of Sheila Dilly appears on his calendar pad.
I was going to try and see her tonight. You know, I'm trying to find this Dawn woman, and I got a tip that Dilly might know her whereabouts.
That's a good one. Come on, Poirot. Let's take him down to headquarters. He'll talk there.
Now, wait a minute, Stevens. I'm on the level. All I'm trying to do is find Elizabeth Dawn for my clients. One of the few clues I have is that she came from Montana, having spent several years there. This Dilly woman also hails from there.
Then it is merely coincidence that her name appears on your calendar, Monsieur Gorman.
Of course, Poirot. I'm getting $10,000 for finding this dame, but if I smelled murder anywhere in the deal, I'd drop it like a shot.
I have not accused you of these murders. But you have some information, and you would be most wise to give it to me.
Well, Mr. Poirot, it seems that our interview yesterday is back for a return engagement. Only this time, you're a little more interested in what I have to say.
I can only repeat what I said then, Monsieur Gorman. My services are not for hire, but I dislike murder.
You and Stevens are barking up the wrong tree. What makes you think these 2 killings are connected with what I'm working on?
Oh, come. Is it not apparent to you that other people are interested in the whereabouts of Mademoiselle Dawn? Also, it seems that these people have not your scruples about murder.
Sorry, Mr. Poirot, but I can't go along with it that these other guys are connected with my client.
But the little gray cells, Monsieur Gorman, they tell me you are making a bad mistake.
Well, they don't talk to me, but the $10,000 does.
Did your client tell you why he is seeking this Dawn woman?
Yeah. He told me that she nursed a sister of his back to health in Montana, and he wants to reward her now.
And you believe his story?
Not a word of it. But I'm going on the theory that his money's not counterfeit.
Now, look here, Gorman. I don't believe you're innocent about these 2 killings. I got a good mind to lock you up.
I told you I know nothing about them. Last night I was up all night in a card game, and I can prove it. As for this Dilly rap, I don't have a blue pinstripe suit, and you can see that for yourself.
Then you will not tell us the name of your client?
Not a chance. I gave my word. I'll tell you what I'll do, Mr. Poirot. Give me 24 hours. If I find that my client hired those guys to knock off those 2 nurses, I'll turn them into you.
Very well, Monsieur Gorman. You have made your own bargain. I hope it will be to your advantage.
Calm down, Poirot. You'll wear out the floor of my office.
What is the matter with those Montana police? The answer to our teletype should have been here hours ago.
Hey, what's wrong with you, Poirot? I've never seen you so nervous before.
It is the delay of that teletype. I know it will give us the motive for those killings.
Well, I wouldn't worry about that. Even if those Montana cops don't send through your message, Gorman's bound to show up here tonight and give us the lead on the murderers.
Sacre bleu, Stevens, never have you been so naive. You do not mean to tell me that you trust Monsieur Gorman.
Well, frankly, Poirot, I've been working on another theory.
And you have been keeping it a secret from me, monsieur? But why?
Well, I didn't have it all worked out. But the way I figure it is, a maniac's been responsible for these killings, and unless I miss my guess, we're in for a mess of nurses' deaths.
A maniac? Tell me, Stevens, how do you arrive at this startling conclusion?
Oh, it's simple. Some guy who lost a wife or someone else close to him because Elizabeth Dawn botched up the job of nursing her has gone out of his mind and is going around killing all the nurses he can find.
Mon ami, it is a pity that all that thought should be wasted on such a worthless theory.
Now, oh, come on, Poirot. That message from Montana's coming in over the teletype now.
Excellent. Hurry, Stevens.
Well, now we'll find out something.
Yes, mon brave. I think we begin to arrive in the vicinity of somewhere.
Elizabeth Dawn, resident of Butte, 1927 to 1930. Registered nurse. Employed last 2 years here by James and Ellen Fenway as nurse for James Fenway II. All trace lost of her after death of James and Ellen Fenway when she disappeared with their child, adopted by her. Last known to have worked for Dr. Henry Monkton in New York City.
Quickly, Stevens.
Where to?
To find this Dr. Monkton.
Yes, gentlemen, I understand you're from the police. What can I do for you?
Forgive this intrusion, Dr. Monkton, but We would like some information upon a nurse whom you employed some years ago. Her name was Elizabeth Dawn.
Well, gentlemen, you're fortunate. As you see, I'm an old man. My memory isn't what it was in my youth. There have been a lot of people inquiring about Miss Dawn lately.
Who are they? What do they look like?
I don't think they knew each other. One was a youngish, heavy-set man with a face like a bull.
Monsieur Gorman.
That isn't the name he gave me.
It wouldn't be.
And the other?
The other was a fair man in a blue pinstriped suit.
Thank you. But about Mademoiselle Dawn.
Oh, yes. Well, Miss Dawn was an extraordinarily good nurse. Very intelligent, and as I remember, very nice to look at.
Is that all you know about her?
Well, really, sir, I don't make it a habit to become great friends with my nurses.
But of course not, Doctor. But perhaps you knew of some friends Mademoiselle Dawn had who might be able to help us, eh? Believe us, Doctor. It is most important.
Well, that's the same question that the others asked me, and I must have given them the wrong information.
What makes you say that?
Well, they came to me a few days ago, and I managed to recall with some difficulty that Miss Dawn did have one close friend, a Miss Dilly.
Dilly? Why, that's...
Exactly, Stevens. A most logical maniac, n'est-ce pas? Please go on, Doctor.
Well, then they came back today.
Together this time, Doctor?
No, still separately. And they told me I must have had the wrong name. Well, then it came to me. I had looked into my files meanwhile, and I found that Miss Dawn had one close friend who used to look after her little boy.
Yes, Doctor. And the name of the friend?
Dillon. Miss Emma Dillon, yes. 957 West 2nd Street. You see, gentlemen, that was how I happened to make the mistake in names. Miss Dawn used to call her Dilly. A natural mistake on my part.
Most natural, Doctor. And most costly. And fatal for poor Mademoiselle Dilly. Come, Stevens. Let us march.
This time I'm way ahead of you, Poirot. We've got to get to Miss Dillon, but fast.
I beg your pardon. You're Miss Dillon, aren't you?
Oh, why, yes.
I didn't mean to frighten you. I just want to talk to you about a nursing assignment.
Oh.
My name is Arnold Smith.
Oh, of course, Mr. Smith. If you'll come upstairs, I'll be happy to discuss it with you.
Yes. Very kind of you to see me like this. I need your help pretty badly.
Well, it's difficult for a nurse to keep office hours.
Must be tough to have to climb stairs like these every day. Hmm?
Oh, I really don't mind. I'm rather used to it.
You live all alone?
Yes, it's too late to change my way of living now. Well, here we are.
Thank you.
Why are you locking the door?
Now, don't you be alarmed. But it's necessary that we aren't disturbed.
Why? What could you possibly...
I'm looking for certain information, Miss Dillon, about a friend of yours. An old friend. A Miss Elizabeth Dawn.
I don't know anyone by that name.
Oh. Well, now you see why I locked the door. It may be necessary for me to jolt your memory.
Stay away from me.
Now, you may as well know the truth. And tell it. Dr. Monkton told me you knew her. Now, come out with it. Out with it. Where is she?
Put that picture down.
No wonder we couldn't find Elizabeth Dawn. We were looking for a nurse, and all the time she was right under our noses. Well, I think I'll just take this along with me in case some other people come around looking for Elizabeth. Who would have thought that Elizabeth Dawn, who was a nurse, could have become Diana Rogers, the famous actress?
What are you going to do? Oh.
Goodbye, Miss Dillon. Miss Dillon, open the door. Miss Dillon, are you all right? It wasn't locked. Holy smoke.
Help, stop it. Stay away from me.
It's all right, Miss Dillon. I'm a detective. Tell me what happened.
A man came. He found out that Elizabeth Dawn was Diana Rogers. He took all the pictures of her. Got to stop it.
Dead. Diana Rogers.
Miss Dillon? Dillon, this is the police. Open the door.
This is a fine mess. That door will hold till I get out the window.
All right. Stay where you are, Gorman.
Okay, Inspector. Okay, you got me.
Alas, mon ami, we were too late for the poor Miss Dillon.
Yeah, but not too late to catch a murderer. Come along with us, Gorman.
I tell you, I didn't do it, Inspector. I didn't do it.
Now, that line has whiskers on it. You're guilty, and don't try to deny it.
Look, Mr. Poirot, you know I didn't knock off that nurse.
Don't pay any attention to him, Poirot. This case is all wrapped up.
Pardon, mon ami, but is it not significant to you that Monsieur Gorman did not have the murder weapon on his person?
What's that got to do with it? I rush into a room, find an old dame with her head bashed in, and a guy hustling out through a window. That's all the proof I need.
There is another fact to be considered, Stevens. Monsieur Gorman is not psychologically capable of committing murder.
Sorry, Poirot, but I don't agree with you.
One little moment, monsieur, but I should like to ask Monsieur Gorman a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Last night you said you would tell us the name of your client if you discovered him to be a murderer. If you are not guilty, then is it not obvious that your employer is?
Keep going.
There is not much further I can go unless you tell me his name.
I've changed my mind.
Why, He's a Welsher in the bargain, Poirot.
Monsieur, you are making a grave mistake. You still refuse to tell us the name of your client.
That's right.
Then you must know where Mademoiselle Dawn is.
You're crazy.
Not at all, monsieur. You merely believe you will make better use of your information than we. But come, monsieur, a bargain, eh? If you will tell me where Mademoiselle Dawn is, I will tell you why your employer is so anxious to get in touch with her.
How do you know that, Poirot?
From spending some time with the newspaper files of Butte, Montana, printed 15 years ago.
Okay, that's a deal.
15 years ago, James and Ellen Fenway died in a train accident. Their estate, which consisted of 4 of the largest silver mines in the West, was left to their only heir, James Fenway II.
Yeah, I remember the kid from the teletype.
James Fenway's will appointed as trustees the board of directors of the Archer Company of Montana.
Hey, I think I'm beginning to get it.
But the most important thing is that the child was not to receive his ownership of the mines until he reached his 21st birthday.
Some birthday present.
And from the teletype Inspector Stevens and I received, it is apparent that someone of influence on the Archer Company board is looking for Mademoiselle Dawn.
Sure, I've got the whole picture. They don't want the kid to inherit the mine, so they're trying to find him and bump him off.
Alas, that is the unhappy situation. Now, Monsieur Gorman, where is Mademoiselle Dawn?
Okay, I'll pay off on my end of the deal. She's over in Jersey with the Fenway kid. Here, I'll write down the address for you.
Do not take such needless pains. You are lying.
I'm only trying to tell you where the darn dame is.
All the facts show you are wrong. She is here in New York.
Let him go, Poirot. We don't need him anymore.
You cannot release him, mon ami. He would not be safe the moment he leaves here.
Why, you dirty double-crosser.
Monsieur, it is you who has given the cross double by lying to me. And you're also not clever enough to realize that to know the whereabouts of Mademoiselle Dawn is fatal.
Okay, but what do we do next, Poirot?
We go back to the Dillon apartment, Stevens, and use the little gray cells. It is there that we must find the clue leading to Mademoiselle Dawn.
I don't know, Poirot. We've been through this place with a fine-tooth comb and haven't found a thing.
But we cannot allow ourselves to fail, mon frère. Others found things here that helped them.
We've ripped open drawers, turned up carpets, and all we've gotten out of the whole thing is a wrecked apartment.
Wait, what have you there in your hand?
Some old theater programs. Yeah, they belong in this trash basket.
No, let me see them.
Huh? They don't mean anything except that this Dillon dame liked the theater.
This gives one furiously to think.
What are you looking at? Pictures?
No, mon ami. I have found a most amazing coincidence in all these programs. Regard.
What's that?
It seems that there is one name which appears in every one of them.
So what? Miss Dillon was a fan of someone. That happens all the time.
But the first program is 10 years old, and it shows an actress named Diana Rogers playing a most insignificant role. Then, look at this next one, 7 months later. And this one, 2 years after that. In each play, she acted a role of increasing importance. And this last play, Day of Victory, now she is the star.
I still don't get...
Mon Dieu, that is it, Stevens. You recall how everyone told us that Mademoiselle Dawn was beautiful?
Yeah, but what's that?
Well, we have found her. Elizabeth Dawn is Diana Rogers.
Holy catfish. I know where she is. That play you mentioned is still on Broadway.
Quickly, Stevens, or we will be too late to stop a return performance of murder.
This is her dressing room, Mr. Chisholm. Open up, Elizabeth. This is Michael Chisholm. Come on, let us in. It's been a long time, Elizabeth.
What do you want, Mr. Chisholm?
You know what we want. We want to know where the boy is.
I'll make her talk
Mr. Chisholm? I prefer the gentler method, Smith. Well, Elizabeth?
Why do you think I took him and ran away from Montana after his parents died?
I've often wondered.
I knew that you'd been stealing from Mr. Fenway. I also knew that you intended to put the boy out of the way so that you could take over the mine.
How true, my dear. But unfortunately for you, your accusations will never be heard outside of this room.
What are you going to do?
Now, Mr. Chisholm? No, Smith. Not just yet. There's a matter of Miss Dorn. I beg your pardon. Miss Rogers signing this sheet of paper.
What is it?
The Fenway boy won't be 21 for 2 more days. Until that time, you're his legal guardian. This paper, signed by you, will transfer his shares in the silver mines to me and my company. Now, here's a check for $50,000.
$50,000? Why, it's worth $5 million.
Let's not be mercenary. Now, unless you take this, I'll turn you over to Mr. Smith here. He's already killed 3 women. A few more won't really matter.
I won't do it.
Well, there are ways of making you do it.
You're hurting me.
All right, put up your hands.
This would be most advisable, monsieur. And 1,000 thanks for the confession.
Smith, you blundering idiot. You said we were safe.
Ah, but you must permit your employee at least one miscalculation. It is only human.
Gentlemen, I don't know how to thank you.
Well, now, that's all right.
There is one way you can thank us, mademoiselle.
What is that?
By allowing us to sit in your theater and watch you give your finest performance.
Be sure to listen next week when Agatha Christie, America's favorite mystery writer, brings you her favorite detective, Hercule Poirot, starring Harold Huber in Murder is a Private Affair. Music for Hercule Poirot is composed and conducted by Sylvan Levin. The program is directed by Carl Eastman. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Cerebral Cinema hopes you have enjoyed this movie of the mind.